In this video, I'll share and explain my technique for getting guitar tones in the box that really work for pop punk and similar music using amp sims. I've touched on it in previous videos, but a lot of you have asked me to explain it in a bit more detail and explore the process behind the tones in songs like these that I've mixed.
I'll call your number, but I'll hang up when the phone rings. Stay with me tonight.
So after meeting with a lot of you online for one-to-one sessions, I've come to realise that getting your amp sim to sound closer to the songs you love listening to at the very start of your mixing session can make all the difference and even affect your decision making further down the line. So how can you achieve this? The answer is simple, and stay with me as it will sound overly simplistic at first, but I will explain. So my best bit of advice for guitar tones with amp sims is to never make a single tone decision unless you're hearing the amp in stereo. Let me demonstrate. So here we have a mono single guitar take going through my favourite amp sim, which is the Archetype Nolly, and it sounds like this. Now, to me, that's really hard to make decisions as to what your tone needs because it's so far in this raw stage from sounding anything like the finished records you're used to hearing, and they're your reference point for great guitar tones, I would imagine. So now let's double track that guitar, run both tracks through the amp in stereo, like I've just selected there, and now let's hear what we have. So surely from there, because you're hearing it in stereo like you hear all your favourite songs, you've got an idea of where you need to go. And for me, that is such an important thing to do. If you were working with it in mono, where it's so much less inspiring, so much more raw sounding, and less like a finished record, you're making those decisions and then you're going to copy a slightly different or the same tone over to the other take and sort of guess. Well, take that all out of it, run it in stereo, and you've got a starting point like we just heard that is far more like what you're used to enjoying from the guitar in your favourite songs. And then with a little magic and a little tweaking, we go from this tone, which is how it sounds off the bat without touching any of the amp, and we get a finished song that sounds like this.
Four-leaf clovers and biding time until I can get things right. Until I finally get things right. Four-leaf clovers.
Just quickly, if you make music like this and you want me to mix your next song or release, then head over to my website, terrybeckleyrecording.com, scroll down to the contact form and send me a message. I will get back to you. When I started doing this, it transformed my tones and I was able to make better decisions because I was hearing my guitars in the same way I would when listening to my favourite pop punk bands. But it's not as simple as setting the amp to stereo, so let me break down how I would set that up and then dial in any rhythm tone. So we'll take this far more pop punk sounding track here, and as I'm sure you're aware, you'd record one take that you were happy with, and you would record a second take you were happy with, effectively double tracking the part. Bear with me, I know you know this. But then how I set up my amp sim so that I can make the best decisions is I don't dial in those double tracks separately. So here we have take one, and I'll pan that all the way to the left. And here we have take two, and I'll pan that all the way to the right. And now with Logic, I can quote unquote join the tracks. Mixdown of audio regions, stereo. And there we have an audio track that is now a stereo track with the baked in panning of hard left and hard right on those takes. It's the same as bouncing in place or whichever language your DAW uses in order to achieve this. So now I can set that track to stereo. Over here in Logic on the left hand side next to where it says input, I can click that to create a stereo track, and I'll load up my favorite amp sim in stereo. But the key thing here is to make sure that it is actually processing everything in stereo. So with Neural, I flick that switch here. So now we can go about dialing in this tone. So hopefully you can hear there, it's already starting to sound like a proper guitar tone, right? I knew straight away from hearing it in stereo, okay, there's a lot of low mids in there that need sorting out. And that's why I went to this green overdrive pedal, which is effectively a tube screamer. I controlled the low mids with the tube screamer, which is a trick I picked up from being in real studios. So I pushed the tone knob, I turned the drive effectively off. And then with the amp, we've got this really cool bright switch, which is effectively a shelf, bit of gain. And then I allowed the low end to be there with the bass. I pushed the mids up and we're already starting to hear something that sounds closer to a finished record. Gain-wise, this DI in particular just seemed like it wasn't really hitting the amp in a way that gave it a lot of gain. Usually I'd have my gain around sort of between 3 and 4 when dealing with it in stereo because the gain is now effectively doubled. So I pushed it up a little bit and I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to hear what I think a finished guitar tone on a record sounds like. And then with a bit of tweaking and a bit of mixing, you get a song that sounds like this. But I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that all of these DIs sound wildly different from each other. If I turn the amp off a second, just listen to the difference in like thickness, performance, you know, tuning, all that kind of stuff, which is really important. They all sound different. And I just want to show that by setting the amp to stereo and running the double track through it, you're allowing yourself to make the decisions that are going to work for whatever DI is in front of you. So just listen to the difference between these right now. And then compare that to this one, which is a lot thinner. They couldn't be more different, right? And again, let's listen to this next one that I'm going to demonstrate in a second. See how different all three of them are, but if you get your amp to start this way, I promise you, because you're a fan of this kind of music and you listen to it all the time, you'll know where to go. So let's demonstrate this one more time with this track here. So like before, I've got my left take and my right take. They are panned, hard left and hard right. I'll select them both and I'll join them into a stereo track, convert the track to stereo in Logic. That's done over here by the input, and then we'll load up. Let's load up a different amp sim for this one. Let's go with Gojira. This one sounds incredible off the bat, 99% of the time. Switch to stereo and let's hear it. And this is a perfect example of that's too much gain. You know, we're running 2 tracks through it now, so the gain is going to be way more sensitive. So we're going to bring the gain down so we get more clarity out of the tone. Now I want to bring that low end out because when I mix, I would deal with the low end and the bass from an EQ later on, but I want the amp to be reacting fully. So push the bass up and then we're going to push the mids up too to get a nice full tone. So if you're like me, you're thinking, yeah, it's got some nice definition, it's got some cool gain to it, it's got a lot of attitude, it sounds good. And I'm hearing, okay, I want a bit of a thicker tone. So let's change what mics we've got on the cab here, see if we can get a bit of a thicker tone out of it. Yeah, you know, I like it. And with this song, the bass was really driving the mix because the guitars did leave space for it, like you can hear there. So let's hear what that finished product sounded like here. I really hope you found this useful and that it can help improve your guitar tones from now on. If you want to see how I would dial in lead guitar tones as well as rhythm tones, then you can watch this video here. And be sure to check out my channel for all kinds of videos on mixing this kind of music. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.